In highest realms a war did rise between the Lord and Satan's lies. A cunning serpent deceived with art, and man was left with wounded heart. He sees the earth spread dark distress, light to God's children, fueling their duress. Oh, behold the cross, where love was shown, the Son of God for sin atoned. He bore our pain, He took our blame. An echoing question, what more did He proclaim? For love so vast, His life He gave. In this redemption our souls He saved. But Christ appeared, His light so bright, He shattered lies with holy might. On that rough cross His blood was spilled, for wandering hearts death He fulfilled. His precious blood sealed justice sure. The battle ended, Satan's fall secure. Oh, behold the cross, where love was shown, the Son of God for sin atoned. He bore our pain, He took our blame. An echoing question, what more did He proclaim? For love so vast, His life He gave. In this redemption our souls He saved. Though evil lingers, it soon must cease. God's mighty name will bring true peace. At times less cold, the King will appear. His truth will shine and make all clear. We are His voices, His love to share, healing each hurt, guiding souls with care. Oh, behold the cross, where love was shown, the Son of God for sin atoned. He bore our pain, He took our blame. An echoing question, what more did He proclaim? For love so vast, His life He gave. And His redemption we stand now saved.
Welcome to another deep dive. This week's Sabbath School lesson asks a really powerful question. What more could I have done? So we're going to be exploring that in light of God's love and justice, especially when we see so much suffering and evil in the world. It's a pretty heavy topic, right?
It is.
But hopefully, by looking at a few different sources, video transcripts, text excerpts, all focusing on what the Bible has to say, we can gain some new insights.
Yeah, I think this deep dive will help us wrestle with those age-old questions we all have. Why does God allow bad things to happen?
Yeah.
Could He have done more to stop it? It's something we see throughout the Bible, actually. Even in one of our sources, there's a story about a young orphan named Dennis.
Dennis.
Yeah. He lived back in medieval times, and he absolutely hated the king.
Oh, wow.
He thought that the king was the one who had ripped him away from his parents.
It's like that classic feeling of betrayal, right?
Right. Like the person who should protect you is the one who hurts you. But here's the thing. What Dennis didn't know was that the king was actually trying to save him. Years later, he finds this document written by the king.
Oh, wow.
And in it, the king explains that he separated children from their families to protect them from the Black Death,
Oh, wow.
which was just ravaging the country at that time.
That puts a whole different spin on things.
It does. It really shows how our limited perspective can make us misunderstand God.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We might blame him for our suffering, not realizing that maybe he's shielding us from something even worse.
That's so true. It's like we only see this tiny sliver of the whole story,
Yeah.
and we don't always get to see what's happening behind the scenes.
Right. We don't see those unseen battles.
Which, speaking of, brings us to that concept of cosmic conflict, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. This idea that there's a battle between good and evil, between God and Satan, that's been raging since the beginning of time.
It's almost hard to fathom, you know?
It is. But it impacts our world, even our personal lives, in ways we might not even realize. Like, it helps us understand that we're not just fighting against people.
Yeah.
We're up against spiritual forces, too.
Like it says in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Wrestling not against flesh and blood.
Exactly.
So are you saying that our suffering might not always be random? Mm-hmm. That it could actually be part of this bigger cosmic battle?
It's definitely a possibility.
Wow. That's kind of a mind-blowing thought.
Yeah.
It makes me think about that parable of the vineyard owner in Isaiah 5.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
God is portrayed as this so loving, dedicated owner who takes such good care of his vineyard, which represents Israel.
Right.
But instead of getting good fruit, it yields wild grapes, like a symbol of their rebellion.
Disobedience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. God puts in so much effort, and his love is rejected.
He even asks this question, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
In Isaiah 5.4, what more could I have done for my vineyard that I have not done for it?
It's a poignant question.
It really is. It cuts to the core of what we're talking about, right?
It does,
Yeah.
because if God is all powerful, why doesn't he just make us be good?
Yeah.
Why let us choose to disobey and suffer?
It makes you wonder if there are even limits to what God can do, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people wrestle with that.
Definitely. Like, if he's all loving, why not just fix everything?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line between giving us free will and stopping bad things from happening?
It's a tension we see throughout the Bible, that's for sure. And I think Jesus addresses it beautifully in his own parable of the vineyard in Matthew 21.
Right.
It builds on that imagery from Isaiah, and we see how God keeps trying to reach his people. First, he sends the prophets, like the servants in the parable.
Okay.
Then he sends his own son, hoping they would finally recognize and accept him.
But they reject him. It's such a powerful picture of God's love, though.
It is
Willing to go to any lengths for us.
the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. But it makes you wonder, how can God be perfectly just and still offer forgiveness to those who rebel against him?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's something that Romans 3.2326 really tackles head on, talking about justification.
Justification.
Yeah.
That's one of those theological terms that can seem a little intimidating, you know?
Yeah, it's a legal term.
But it sounds like it's key to understanding how God's love and justice actually work together.
It is. It really is.
So could you maybe unpack that a bit for us?
Oh, absolutely.
Justification. Okay. So trying to wrap my head around all of this, we've gone from a medieval king to this cosmic battle, and now we're talking about justification. It's a lot.
It is a lot to process. Yeah.
And I have to admit, it's hard to reconcile God's perfect justice with his mercy. How can those two even exist together?
Right. Well, it's a question that people have been wrestling with for centuries. And honestly, I don't know if we'll ever fully understand it this side of heaven.
Right.
But think about it this way. Imagine you're in court, accused of something you didn't do, and you're facing a harsh sentence. There's no way you can defend yourself.
Oh.
And then someone completely innocent steps in and takes the blame for you, accepts the punishment in your place. That's kind of a simple picture of what Jesus does for us through justification.
Wow. That's a powerful analogy.
Yeah, he takes the penalty for our sins, even though he did nothing wrong, so that we can be declared not guilty.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. It's not about God ignoring our sins.
No.
It's about someone else taking the punishment we deserve.
Exactly. And that's really central to understanding the Christian faith. It's not about earning God's favor. It's about accepting this free gift, the gift of Christ's righteousness through faith.
Right. And that reminds me of a passage in Romans 3 that I think you highlighted. It says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and all are justified freely by his grace through the redemption that came by Christ Jesus." So none of us can earn our way into God's good graces. We're all in need of that free gift.
Right, every single one of us. And what's so amazing about this concept is that it doesn't just deal with our past sins. It empowers us to live a new life, like a clean slate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a fresh start. And we can walk in righteousness, not because we've earned it, but because it's been given to us.
So it's not just about being declared not guilty in some cosmic courtroom.
No.
It's about being given the power to actually live differently.
Yeah, to reflect God's character.
Wow. Okay, so this brings up a question that I think a lot of people struggle with, myself included. If Christ already won the victory over sin and death, why is there still so much suffering? Like, we still see pain and loss and injustice all around us. Doesn't that contradict the idea that the victory has already been won?
That's the tension, right? We're in this in-between time.
Okay.
Theologians call it the already but not yet.
Okay, the already but not yet.
Yeah, Christ has secured the victory, but the full effects, they haven't happened yet.
So it's like we're in the aftermath of this huge battle. But there's still some cleanup to do. Like, there are remnants of the enemy still causing problems.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, and part of the reason is that God chooses to operate within certain constraints.
What do you mean?
Well, he allows free will to exist, even though he knows it will lead to some pretty bad stuff, sin and suffering.
That's a hard concept to grasp. If God is all loving, why would he allow for the possibility of so much pain? Wouldn't it just be easier, more compassionate, to just make us all robots, like programmed to love and obey him?
Well, on the surface, maybe that seems more compassionate, but think about it. Is it really love if it's forced?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
True love has to have freedom to choose.
Yeah.
And with that freedom comes the potential for choosing wrong. And that's where the suffering comes in.
So you're saying that even though it breaks his heart to see us suffer, God values our freedom so much that he's willing to let us choose the wrong path.
Absolutely. That respect for our freedom, even when it leads to pain, that's actually a huge expression of his love. He's not some puppet master controlling our every move. He's a loving father who grieves when we walk away. But he honors our choice.
That's a new way of looking at it. It makes you think about all those times we cry out to God, like, why are you letting this happen? Why aren't you doing something? Maybe he is doing something.
Yeah.
But it's happening in ways we can't see because he's respecting everyone's choices. It's humbling, isn't it?
It is. We really have to admit that we don't have the full picture. We don't see all the cause and effect, the ripple effects of the choices that we make and that others make.
Right.
But we can trust that God sees it all and that he's working behind the scenes to bring about good, even when it doesn't feel good in the moment.
That reminds me of Dennis's story again. He couldn't understand the king's actions until he saw the bigger picture, until he understood the reason behind the separation. Maybe it's the same with God. We won't fully understand his actions until we reach eternity.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's where faith comes in, trusting in God's goodness,
Yeah.
his wisdom and his love, even when things don't make sense.
It's about holding on to that promise that one day we'll get it. We'll understand why.
Yeah.
And it won't be confusing anymore.
Yeah, all the loose ends tied up.
Yeah. But it's not just about waiting for that future revelation. It's about living now.
Right.
With the awareness that we have a role to play.
You're talking about our role as witnesses, that we're not just passive recipients of God's grace.
Right. But active participants in his plan for redemption. And I think that's where this question, what more could I have done, takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just about looking at God's actions. It's about looking at our own lives and asking if we're truly reflecting his love and justice. It's funny, when we talk about being a witness, I think people often picture big, dramatic things.
Yeah.
Like giving speeches or preaching from a pulpit.
Right, like some grand gesture.
Yeah. But really, a lot of it is about the everyday choices we make.
Absolutely.
How do we treat the baristas who messed up our order? How do we respond to a frustrating coworker? Do we choose patience when we're stuck in traffic? Those little things can actually be huge opportunities to show God's character.
I love that. It's so true. We often think of witnessing as something intentional, like sharing a Bible verse or inviting someone to church. But really, our lives should just speak for themselves.
It should be like a natural overflow of our relationship with God.
Exactly. People should see a difference in us.
Yeah.
You know, the love, the joy, the peace that comes from knowing Christ. Like that old saying, preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words.
Right. Right. Our lives should be the sermon.
Exactly.
I remember reading in one of our sources about that tension between the already and the not yet that we were talking about, how even though we're living in this in-between time, we can still be agents of God's kingdom, like right here and now. It's like we have these opportunities to bring a little bit of heaven into the everyday messiness.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's like we each carry a little torch of God's light, helping others find their way back to him.
Yeah. And you know what else really hit me?
What's that?
When we were talking about the parable of the vineyard, how God doesn't just sit back and watch us struggle. He's actively working in our lives. Like he's the gardener, cultivating, pruning, nurturing us.
He wants us to bear good fruit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like he asked, what more could I have done for my vineyard? Maybe we should be asking, what more can I do to cultivate the vineyard he's given me?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Whether it's our own hearts, our families, our communities.
Yeah.
We're called to partner with God in this work of redemption.
It's a responsibility, but it's also a privilege, right?
Huge privilege.
Yeah.
We're not just helpless victims waiting for God to fix everything. We're part of the story. We get to work alongside him, bringing healing, restoration, hope.
So maybe the question, what more could I have done, isn't supposed to make us feel guilty. It's actually a call to action, an invitation to really step into our calling, to make a difference in the world.
To live out what we believe.
Yeah. It's a reminder that we have everything we need to do that because of God's grace. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into Sabbath School lesson number 11, what more could I have done? I hope everyone listening will keep thinking about these things.
Me too. It's been such a great conversation.
And if you want to go deeper, be sure to check out the full Sabbath School lesson. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future deep dives.
And please share this episode with anyone you think might be blessed by it.
A big thank you to Pastor Dini and the Believe Quartet for the music.
And to all of our amazing listeners for joining us. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
In highest realms, a war did rise between the Lord and Satan's lies. A cunning serpent deceived with art, and man was left with wounded heart. He sees the earth spread dark distress, light to God's children, fueling their duress. Oh, behold the cross where love was shown, the Son of God for sin atoned. He bore our pain, he took our blame, an echoing question, what more did he proclaim? For love so vast, his life he gave. In this redemption, our souls he saved. But Christ appeared, his light so bright, He shattered lies with holy might. On that rough cross, his blood was spilled. For wandering hearts, death he fulfilled. His precious blood sealed justice sure. The battle ended, Satan's fall secure. Oh, behold the cross where love was shown, the Son of God for sin atoned. He bore our pain, he took our blame, an echoing question, what more did he proclaim? For love so vast, his life he gave. In this redemption, our souls he saved. Though evil lingers, it soon must cease. God's mighty name will bring where love was shown, the cross where love was shown. The Son of God for sin atoned, Son of God for sin atoned. He bore our pain, He took our blame. An echoing question, what more did He proclaim?